I've been sleeping all alone. Lord, I miss you.
Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Freshagenda, and Steve, we haven't been here for a while, but we thought we'd come back for a not very weekly take and just go quickly through 5 key items.
Yeah, things we're looking at the moment. Starting with global trade. So we've done an add-up of global trade as part of our global directions product. And some headline issues, third month of year-on-year decline. That's unsurprising given the gush of low-price milk powder that came out earlier.
In the year, yeah, sure.
But when we dig a bit deeper, some of the more concerning areas are that the underlying trade is still weak. And I've singled out there a couple of things, just fats and cheese, and where the developing world is, because they're very important markets to balance those, to keep those two balanced.
Sure.
So just the August quarter, 3 months to August in the data, shows that in all those developing regions of the world, cheese is still 5% down year on year.
For the quarter to August?
Quarter to August. And fat's down a quarter almost. Fat prices are falling. We are seeing that improve, but it'll need to fall, to where they are now, maybe a bit further.
So in terms of improving demand at those lower prices. And then, of course, China's been very important in supporting powders. Yeah,
and that's keeping the powder markets balanced.
Sure.
Really. So we'll touch on that more. Moving along. So I went to the NZX event last week, as you know.
You did.
And I thought a pretty good event. It's moved, big news. It moved from the Cricket Stump Marina Bay Sands Palace up Orchard Road to the St Regis, which was a much tighter venue, very nice event. And I thought the mood was quite positive across the board. Some caution around some of the things I've just talked about some of that, how the market's actually going and how demand sustains. But there were some good insights on the Chinese market, different aspects of commodities that we hadn't really looked at before there, and some good panel sessions. But overall, the event was probably better than the others I've attended. And that's not a paid advertisement.
It's not.
Being realistic, I think it's earned its way on the global calendar in terms of events. So hopefully it continues strongly.
Yeah, we would be willing to be paid though.
Sure. EU milk, a developing situation here. I think things are looking a little stronger after languishing for some time.
Sure.
August was up nearly 1%. September we think is going to be stronger than that. October similar. We think it's going to stay in that range through this year, maybe into early next year against some pretty weak comparatives.
So that red line on those pasture index charts are really pushing up towards the top of that average range. Yeah,
and those first two reflect, they're just two regions within France and Germany, reflect that, that chart on the top right there, the weekly numbers, certainly a trend line there as they're heading up. And just reminding that Ireland's still well above average as well in terms of their growth. So with better feed, there's better feed quality out there, and we're getting stronger milk solids, which is meaning more butter, and that's making that market fragile. There's already plenty in supply in Europe, so a situation to watch as we go forward.
Yes.
And that impacts product output. Here, the recent changes in the data, which are a couple of months behind, but just look at that butter, year on year. While growth's been slow in milk, you can see that butter is well ahead. So that's got the trade watching carefully.
The other point to make about, a bit more components is also that loss of fluid milk sales, which means there's a bit more available for manufacturing as well. So, it's certainly plenty of product around, it seems, in Europe. Yeah,
and those fluid sales are worse than the US trends at the moment. So that is alarming.
Sure.
Look, an issue that we've looked at hard in the analysis again this time, and it's in our product. We're doing more, and this is something we're thinking about quite a bit. We've seen a large surge in skim demand, so the total market is a lot bigger. A lot of that has been stimulated by the reduction of inventories.
Yes.
So that blue pile in that chart there that's gone now and supplied. So indications are demand's going to stick. It's been stimulated by low prices naturally, but if that ongoing trend of skim milk powder demand continues, who's going to supply it? So it needs a fair uplift to sustain that level of demand, principally from Europe, which is the most logical candidate. So I think that's we've built some scenarios in the DTS to look at that, to vary a number of the parameters going into the next year. Obvious consequence, if there's more skim production, we'll have a lot more fat, and that, you know, in that outlook would be much weaker, and that may rebalance, take us back to, you know, years ago when they were more in line.
Yeah, and of course back to that traditional protein versus fat ratio in terms of value. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so fairly interesting work.
Yeah, and the ability to do that with the DTS and run composite scenarios is really being tested by this kind of outlook.
So look for that in this week's Directions newsletter.
Just about to hit subscribers.
That's right. So Jo, wrapping up with your chart of the week.
Yeah, chart of the week. We just, in our weekly newsletters, just looking at the growth in China's import demand, and again, underlying how important they've been to sustain that milk powder balance in global markets. A lot of skim being imported into China. Even while whole milk powder is a little bit down from where they were, there's been quite a change there.
Yeah, a change in how they're using milk ingredients in China, and the role of fresh milk moving more to, or raw milk off farm moving more towards fresh product. And we heard last week at NZX some of that evidence that some of these growing products in the beverages market, taking more milk ingredients, taking more powder ingredients rather than raw milk. And that is supporting some of this, and the other thing we're also very aware of is the strength of local infant formula brands,
Sure.
which are taking share away from some of the mid-range imported products.
So a bit more confidence, consumer confidence back in those local brands.
That's right. It's been hard earned. It's taken years, but that's creating more capacity for powder.
Sure.
In that market. So yeah. Good. Well, that's a wrap. I think we might do this again.
Yeah, we should get together again. And we should also thank Jordan, who's been doing the bulk of our videos over the last few years. This is his very last one. He might do the blooper reel for us, though.
He has promised the blooper reel, which you look out for around Christmas party time. But Jordan, we might put a still of Jordan up. There he is. And look, it's goodbye from us. We'll be hopefully back next week.